Hey guys, welcome back to nationalhsfb.com. I'm your host, Larry Godwin, along with my counterpart, Joe Mamone from Prep Gridiron Logistics. We've got a special interview for you tonight. Hailing from the great state of New Jersey, the Don Bosco Prep Ironman head coach himself is Dan Sabella. Coach, welcome to the program. You are not a stranger to high school football, so we are thrilled to have you on the program tonight.
I appreciate you guys having me. Excited to be here. Looking forward to talking with you guys.
Well, we are thrilled to have you here. Like I said, Joe is going to lead us off with the very first question, and then I'll follow suit after that. So, Joe, what you got?
Yeah, and Larry, it's not really a question. I just wanted to let everybody know, all our fans out there, what a special night this is for me. You know, if it wasn't for Don Bosco Prep, I never would have launched my company 7 years ago, back in 2015. They were the first client I ever had. The first two games I put together for them in 2015 was for their 100th anniversary. I got Archbishop Rummel to come up and play. Then the following weekend, I had him go to Cincinnati Moeller. At the time, a college buddy of mine was the principal at Moeller. So I called him up. Bosco was having a hard time finding opponents since they were just so good and none of the publics wanted to play him anymore in Jersey. So it's the first client I ever had. First two games I ever booked, and fast forward 7 years, I have well over 300 clients, and I'm booking about 200 games a season. But it all started with Don Bosco Prep. So I'm thankful that Coach Sabella decided to grace us with his presence. This is going to be a great one. So first thing I wanted to talk about, Coach, was the out-of-state games. Okay, I don't know if you know this stat, but since 2008, Don Bosco, including this upcoming year, since 2008, Don Bosco has played 27 out-of-state teams. I don't know if any school in America in that time period could rank with that. I mean, and I made a list. I want to review them because they're games that everybody who's watching, they're going to recognize these teams. All right, let's start. I'm going to try to go in chronological order, but some of them won't be. So the first and big game that everybody remembers is when Bosco in 2008 went to California and beat De La Salle 23-21 on a last-second field goal. So you played De La Salle twice. That was a home and home. The program has played St. Thomas Aquinas twice, beat them. So, Larry, Don Bosco is 4-0 right now against De La Salle and St. Thomas Aquinas all time.
Wow.
Not many teams can say that. At Prattville, Alabama, home and home against St. John's, D.C., hosted St. Francis, home and home with Gonzaga, home and home with Mission Viejo, California, at St. John Bosco, hosted St. Ed's, at Bishop Gorman, home and home with Moeller, at St. X, multiple games with St. Joe's Prep out of Philly, St. Ignatius, Ohio, at Manatee, Florida, at Alta, Utah, at Fort Pierce Central, Florida, at Centerville, Ohio, at Gilman, Maryland. You hosted Miami Central back in the day, home and home with Burns from South Carolina, visited American Heritage. We mentioned Archbishop Rummel. You hosted back in the day, 2015 for the 100th anniversary. Iona Prep last year, back in the day, Valley Forge Military. And coming up, let's talk about you have 3 out-of-state games again this season, but let's talk about those first 2, all right? On 8/26, you're hosting the second number 2 team from Maryland last season, Archbishop Spalding, on August 26th. What can you tell us about him? Have you started looking at him yet? You have any scouting plan on him?
Yeah, we've definitely started to look at him. A real talented team. You can tell very well coached. Talent pretty spread pretty much throughout both the offensive, defensive side of the ball. Good size up front. You know, we played, as you said, St. John College last year from down that way, and they were really good. Probably the best team we played all year, we thought, right up there. Mm-hmm. So we expect that to be a tough opener. We're excited that we're home. You know, I think that's a little bit of advantage when you get that first one at home. And we like our team coming back a lot as well. So I think that's going to be a really good football game.
Yeah, and then the following week, you fly to Orlando, Florida to play Edgewater. And I have 2 words for you, Cedric Baxter.
Yeah, we've heard all about him. We actually had Coach Stapleton from the University of Florida was in this week, and he recruits that area, and he was talking a lot about their program and how athletic they are, and just a real good football school, and they're in spring ball right now. And obviously Cedric Baxter is a national name and probably one of the best players in the country, and he's going to be a handful to stop. But we're excited about that one as well. I think that's a great experience. Our kids love the fact that they get to go out of state and play some of these games. And Joe, you're a big part of making them happen. Coach Toll and the great Bosco team from the past were really the pioneers to go out and start doing this stuff. So we're looking to go out and get off to a good start this year. We've played some of these tough national teams the last couple of years, and we haven't fared as well as we wanted to, but we're hoping this is the year.
Yeah, and let's not forget game number 4. You're hosting Iona Prep again, correct?
Yeah, I mean we played them last year. They were a handful. They went and won the New York State Championship. I think they won 11 games last year, and they got an excellent quarterback and a lot of guys coming back. So there's no easy ones, that's for sure. No easy ones, but you go one at a time and you prepare and do everything you can do.
Coach, Joe gave you 2 words. Now I'm going to give you 3 words. When you travel down to Orlando on September 2nd, hot and humid.
Yeah.
Hydrate. Make sure your team is hydrated.
No doubt. Listen, we played St. John College last year on a Saturday afternoon at 1:00, and it was nasty. And they had the big industrial fans on their sidelines. We're already looking to see if we can rent some of those for when we go down there. But we're glad that game's at night. I don't know how much of it. I hope it makes a little bit of a difference, but
it will.
I hear you, Larry. We're gonna definitely make sure we're getting our fluids.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of hot, I'm gonna Joe started talking about what you're expecting out of teams coming up this season. I want to take your mind back to some of the years that really launched Don Bosco into the national limelight, and what you're trying to do to get them to return to that. So that hot team back in the early to mid 2000s, specifically starting in 2006, is really when I started to notice Don Bosco on the national scene, because that year they had a national rank of 17, and then it just went up from there. The following year they had a national rank of 7, and then 34. And then in 2009, you struck gold by being ranked number 1 in the nation, recognized as a national champion. In 2010, ranked number 3, and then 2011, number 1 in the nation again. And that's when it started to take a downward spiral, if you will. And that's why you're here, because the last couple of years before you arrived to the scene, Don Bosco had to kind of fallen on some tough times, and we talked pregame or pre-show why you think that was. Maybe some parity had been introduced into the league, that you're in that northern New Jersey area, great football up there. So you've been brought into the family there to return the program to its national notoriety. How do you do that? You had this great program, and then it kind of fell on tough times. Now you've been known as a coach that has really done well in his 21 year high school football career. Obviously, you've got to reinvigorate that culture around Don Bosco. How did you do that the last couple of years? It looks like you've got to turn that program around. How do you do that going forward?
Well, you got to really build your culture, and you've got to get guys believing in everything you're telling them, and surround yourself with good people. I think it starts with your coaching staff. We have a great coaching staff who works really well together. Guys who are in the building, guys who no ego guys who put the time in and really build relationships with these kids. We have a couple guys who are around for some of those great teams that you mentioned. Our offensive coordinator, Igor Bina, has been with the program since 2008. Our offensive line coach, Chuck Granatel, was around for pretty much all those teams. He's an alum and coached at Bosco for 20 plus years. We have Spencer Scannell, who played on the 2012 team. We have Leonte Carew, who was one of the best players to ever come out of Bosco, great career at Rutgers. He's our wide receiver coach. So having those guys is a huge help because they were a part of that run that you mentioned, Larry. So they get to share a lot of those experiences with the kids. And then we have some other guys as well, Tank Daniels and Markel Harrison and Danny DeStassi. And I can go on and name our defensive coordinator, Greg Tanzer. We got a lot of guys who, like I said, put the time in. And I think really, really allow us to be prepared for every single opponent every week. And then you got to get good players, obviously, and you got to all of the schools in our league. New Jersey's got a lot of great players, but there's about 8 or 10 schools, especially in North Jersey, that are all attractive, have great educations, and have really committed to football and gotten a lot better, probably the last decade or so. And that's why that parity that we talked about has really kind of leveled things off a little bit. You've seen it just in the amount of the state championship winners over the last decade or so. Bosco had that run where they won 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10, whatever it was. But when you go back the last 10 years from 2012 to 2011 to 2021, it's been a lot of guys kind of breaking it up. So it's great football. We feel like we've got a lot of good players coming back. We've got a lot of young, talented players. So we like the directions it's going in, but it's one day at a time. It really is. It's one day at a time and just get better every day.
Yeah, in the rankings, Larry, if you go to, I was just looking at Cal Preps, and I'm not counting the COVID year of 20.
Yeah.
Bosco was 401 and 18, 95 and 19, and last season 89.
Yeah.
So you
see that upward trend going back.
That upward trend that we like to see. Hey, Coach, tell us about the ballers you have coming back. Obviously, the most well-known and highly touted recruit is Chase Basonis. Tell our listeners from around the country who aren't familiar with Jersey, tell us about Chase and the other great players you have coming back.
Yeah, so Chase is our left tackle who from the day he showed up on campus at Bosco has started on the offensive line for us, which is hard to do, really, really hard to do for any freshman, right, at any high school, really. But this kid has played at a high level since day one and just has continued to just get better and better. He's hungry, he's motivated, he's had a great off season. He's the leader of an offensive line that returns all 5 guys. His counterpart, Chris Moreno, is also going to be a 4-year starter. He's our starting left guard. Chris is 6'2", 295 pounds, and really put together, explosive, strong lower body, quick off the ball. And then we've got a senior center, Aiden Toomey, who's returning, and then 2 younger guys, a 2024 right guard, Kevin Garcia, and a 2024 right tackle, Amari Francis, as well as some depth behind them. So we're really excited about what we bring back up front offensively. Our quarterback's back. He's had a strong offseason. I think he's gotten stronger. I think he's matured a lot. I think he's ready for a real breakout year. That's Nick Minicucci. And our tailback is going to be a 3-year starter. He's a 2-time 1,000-yard rusher. Ronnie Heath, who's really, really a guy who doesn't get nearly the credit that he should get. And then we've got some guys, again, in the backfield. We got a 2025 kid, Nolan James, who played last year for us as a freshman, who's really explosive kid with the ball in his hands, who's going to do some things for us this year. And a bunch of receivers, who can make plays. So we feel good. We got a lot of offensively. We're experienced, and we feel like we're going to put some points up this year. Defensively, I told you guys before the show, we definitely graduated some good players that we're going to miss Timmy Hinspeeder, our linebackers, going to Rutgers. We have a defensive lineman, Claudie Robinson, who had a great year, who's going to Fordham. Couple good kids in the secondary. But as far as guys coming back on the defensive line, we got a kid, Jordan Thomas, who's a 2024 guy who's keep a eye out for him. He's really starting to make a name for himself. He has a chance to just really be dominant this year on the defensive line. And Jovan George is a senior who played real well last year. He's going to be a terror for teams as well. Our linebackers and secondary will have some young guys who are going to have to perform for us. Nick Severin's the most experienced guy coming back in the secondary. He'll be our safety. All right, he'll play one of our safeties. And then Jayden Brown is a 2024 linebacker who started for us last year and was playing at a really, really high level at the end of the year. He's got a lot of attention going this offseason. So, we got some players, man. But you know what? As you guys know, so does everybody else. It's all going to be about, being disciplined, executing, and playing together. These guys got to come together and play complementary football.
Yeah. Coach, you've had experience in your coaching career coaching in both the public sector and the private school sector. Is there what kind of differences do you see between the two, public versus private?
Yeah, so I coached public school football for 15 years before I switched over, and I loved every minute of it. I played at a public school, but it's really gotten to the point in Jersey now where a lot of not just the top level junior football players, but really, the kids who really love football just seem to be gravitating to the parochial schools. And not that there's still not some good teams and some good players at the public schools, because there are. But overall, it's you want to coach kids who love the game and share the passion as much as you do and want to put the time in. And that's, that's what I think a lot of these parochial schools offer. And it's a lot of fun to be around. It's great football. It's high level football. And, like I said, man, it makes for an exciting day. Every single day, even in the off season, is exciting, man. The kids love it, the families love it just as much as you do. It feels like college ball. It really does.
Hey, Larry, when you grow up, it's totally different from where you were in South Georgia.
Yeah.
When you grow up there, from a little tyke on, your goal in life is to play for your high school team, your town team.
That's right.
In New Jersey, it's totally different. Totally different. The goal here, if you're a great 6th, 7th, 8th grade football player, is to play at either Don Bosco, Bergen Catholic, St. Joe's, and the privates, because they're the ones that are on TV. They're the ones playing out-of-state games. They're the ones who have are ranked high every year in any poll that you look at. And to be the best, we always talk about this. To be the best player possible, you have to compete and play against the best. As Coach mentioned before, Jersey privates and publics used to play each other. It's not happening anymore, and that's a good thing. It's more fair now. So that's just how it's different. In Georgia and Texas, totally opposite. Up here in the Northeast, whether it's DC, Maryland, New York, New Jersey, a lot of kids, they crave to play for the best power public in their respective areas.
Gotcha. Okay. What's your next question, Joe?
Hey, Coach, Larry, being in Valdosta, he's always talking about the great rivalry there in his city between Lowndes and Valdosta High School. And I always tell him, you know what? That's a great rivalry, but in my opinion, there's one that's just as great up here. Don Bosco and Bergen Catholic.
Man, don't say that. What are you talking about?
That have been playing for as long as anyone could remember up here. Tell us what it's like that game day leading up to that kickoff, whether you're home or away, playing your arch rival Bergen Catholic.
No, it's incredible. I mean, as a guy who used to just go to those games and watch them, coaching at a different school. And then being a part of it, it's incredible. It starts you start to feel the energy as soon as you walk off the field from that previous week, whoever your opponent was. It's like all the kids are talking about it being Bergen Week, the whole student body on campus, the cafeteria workers. I mean, Monday, everybody's talking about it. It's throw the records out. You know what I mean? It's definitely deep rooted. I thought the state final game this year at MetLife was an unbelievable atmosphere. I don't know what the final attendance was, but there were 20-something thousand people there, which was pretty cool. And no, man, it is serious business. That's for sure, man. There's you want to beat each other's brains in, man, every time you face each other.
Well, Coach, this kind of makes sense now because I was reading a little bit about your background, your profile, especially the time that you were brought into Bosco. You know, your athletic director, the Bosco athletic director, Brian McLear.
Yeah, he's the former AD.
Okay. Yeah. So he was the AD that hired you, and this article appeared in New Jersey Advanced Media or NJ.com. And this is what he said during the process of sifting through 150 plus candidates when they eventually chose you from across the country before ultimately choosing Sabella. This was a quote from Brian McLear. He says, it was important that we got the right person in the seat. I think Dan brings a lot to the table from a logistical standpoint. He gets it. He's been there before, or he's been here before. He's been in the league. And honestly, we felt it really should have been a New Jersey guy because this landscape is pretty insane, but he understands it. Is that the insane, intense competition that you were just talking about? What's he talking about there?
I don't know. Like Joe kind of alluded to it. It's hard to really describe unless you're a part of it, but it's cutthroat in a lot of ways because, like I said, everybody's out there working. Everybody is training in the off season and trying to go out and play the best schedule and attract the best kids and all that stuff. And it's competitive. You know what I mean? It's really, really competitive. And it's gotten to the point now where you can't take anybody lightly. You know what I mean? Like there are no gimmies on the schedule. So, Joe knows this too. There's kids have jumped around over the years, which has kind of caused a little bit of bad blood amongst some teams at certain points. You know what I mean? Where everybody's talking about the transfer portal in college football. Well, there's been some of that going back since well before I've been in this league. That has probably added to that, in intensity or dislike at times between certain programs. You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
absolutely. Well, that we have that issue in Georgia as well. I kind of jokingly told some buddies this past year that I was going to create technically a website called the Georgia High School Football Transfer Portal. And just start listing players. Now, obviously, I said that in jest, but it almost seems like in Georgia, we see, Coach, this is starting to happen more and more, that these players, they meet a lot at the 7-on-7 camps during the summertime, and they will decide on their own as a packed group to transfer to their next. They're almost like a bunch of locusts. I call them the super assembled teams that move from program to program every single year, consuming and devouring everything in their path. And we've seen a lot of teams in Georgia start to win state championships that we haven't seen in the past because of these super assembled teams. Is that happening to that scale, that degree in New Jersey?
No, that's interesting because that's the first I've heard of you saying like a pack. I mean, Joe, I don't know if you agree or disagree, but you might see one or two, maybe three guys sometimes. I don't think Jersey and our league wants to see that happen. I don't think the schools want to see that happen either, especially the parochial schools. But, sometimes a high-profile guy can bring a couple other guys over with them. And that's probably has something to do with what you're saying, Larry. But not to that extreme as far as multiple guys like that, but like I said, a couple of high-profile guys can change a locker room and change it.
Sure.
That missing piece sometimes can be the difference maker.
Yeah, Larry,
absolutely.
What we've encountered up here, and Coach went through it, as did our colleagues at Bergen Catholic, IMG's come up to New Jersey and gotten some players from our league. So
really,
the coaches and the ADs work together. There's not so much flipping back and forth anymore. A lot of them have rules now that if you transfer, it has to be at your junior season or before. There's no more senior transfers going back and forth like way back when. So yeah, there's less and less of that. But there's still a lot of competition. Like all these schools we talk about, Northern New Jersey, all the top 4 parochials are all 10 minutes driving distance from each other.
Wow.
10 minutes, literally.
Yeah, it's
and to drive from the most northern one is St. Joe's, the most southern one is Paramus Catholic. That's a literally 20-minute drive. They're all literally within 10 minutes. If you come up here one weekend, I'll take you to each one. We'll be done in a half an hour, basically.
The college recruiters like it, Larry, because they can hit, they can get to all of us in an hour or so.
Right.
And, well, down here, Coach, it's a little bit different. Kirby Smart, the head coach of the University of Georgia, every springtime before he gets his spring game kicked off, we call it the Kirby Tour. There's all of a sudden a University of Georgia helicopter that bounces from program to program, because these programs in South Georgia, they're located like 45 minutes to an hour and a half apart. So you see the Kirby chopper go from school to school. It sounds like a little bit different from where you are.
Yeah, that's the way to do it, man. I mean, that's pretty cool. Coach Yano jumps on his chopper too when he has to, but I think the assistants, I don't know. I think we have upwards of right around 350, 400 teams that play high school football in Jersey. So there's a lot of schools to hit, and it's nice when you have a lot of good players in such close proximity that you can go see.
Absolutely.
By the way, Coach, look over Larry's left shoulder. You see that red hat with a G on it?
Of course.
Yeah, he brings them up every interview. So
he got his quote in for tonight.
I guess he's still smiling from January then.
Exactly.
Hey, Coach, you never know if it's going to be another 41 years, man. We're basking in the limelight of it.
Well, Big Chase, who we were talking about earlier, went down and visited Georgia. So hopefully that makes you feel good a little bit.
Absolutely.
So, Coach, my last question is: there's been 11 players since 2007 play in the NFL, Bosco alums. Ryan Grant, Corey Wooten, Matt Sims, Phil Sun, Justin Trudeau, Patrick Murray, Leonte Carew, Tommy Sweeney, Jabril Peppers, who transferred after sophomore year, Al-Qadim Muhammad, and the Hennessy brothers, Tommy and Matt, who are playing at the same time right now in the NFL. Do you have a relationship with any of them? Do they come back and still support the program a lot? I know you did mention Leonte, obviously he's coaching, but how about those others?
Yeah, I mean, listen, again, credit to Coach Toll and the guys who really, like we talked about earlier, put that run together and coached a lot of those guys. Tommy Sweeney was around a lot this winter. He was actually in our weight room working out a bunch. Al-Qadim Muhammad is going to be having a camp up our way next month. He's been to some games. He's a guy who's around, talks to Leonte a lot that we keep in touch with. Some of those other guys you mentioned as well. Hennessy's been around. So yeah, I mean, look, as great as the run was, right? The Coach Toll run, Bosco football, you mentioned it earlier, Joe, the school's 107 years old and they've had football for quite a while. I mean, the guys who come back from decades ago, they're all over the place. Guys from the 90s, when I played high school football, like the tradition runs deep. There were some great teams back in the day, as you can imagine. I mean, but that run that we mentioned earlier in the 2000s, that really put Bosco on the map and took it to a national level. And they were the first team to go out and start playing out-of-state games, like you said, and Coach Toll was one of the pioneers for that. So it's just been phenomenal to be a part of, and we want to try to. I don't think we'll ever get it back to that level, but we want to get it. We want to start winning state championships again and start beating those top caliber out-of-state teams for sure.
Coach, I have no doubt you guys are going to get back to that level. I was just reading another article on you and your players, and here were some quotes from a few of your players. One of them said, "There's no letting up in practice with him. He wants us to hit. He wants us to be physical and to really let loose. That's the only way we're going to get better." Another one said this about you. He says, he's brought a great toughness to the program. The same kind of toughness Don Bosco became synonymous and nationally recognized for under Toll. Do you think that's your mission, to bring back the toughness that Bosco was known for?
Well, listen, I've always coached that way. That's always been my philosophy. I think that you win the game. You win games Monday through Thursday. You win games in the off season. You win games in how you prepare. So absolutely, that's always been what Don Bosco football has always been about. It's going back decades. It's been that blue collar mentality, that willingness to line up and put your pads into somebody and, give everything you got on every single play, leave it all out there. And we got a bunch of kids who believe in that. And you always like your chances when your kids practice and prepare like that and believe that they're just tougher than whoever they line up against. You always got a shot when you have kids who play that hard.
Absolutely. Coach, just in this 30 minutes that we've spent with you, there's no doubt in my mind that you're going to get Bosco back to where some in New Jersey think that Bosco rightfully belongs at the top of the national high school football scene. And so we've seen great things out of the Ironmen before. No doubt we're going to see great things out of the Ironmen again. Like I said, to start this interview, we were thrilled, and now I'm even more convinced that, man, this was a great conversation to have with you. So thank you so much for joining Joe and myself on the program tonight.
No, I appreciate that, guys. I appreciate that. I look forward to talking to you down the road, and can't wait, man. The season's about 99 days away, so can't wait to get going.
I love it when a coach says how many days before kickoff starts. That's awesome. That's awesome.
We look at that countdown clock every day in the weight room. It was 99 when we walked out today, so keep up the good work, guys. It was great spending some time with you.
Thanks, Coach. And guys, if you've enjoyed this conversation tonight, check out our content at nationalhsfb.com. Join the site, become part of the national conversation. Joe and I can't wait to see you guys on the site. And with that, thank you to the coach. Thank you, Joe. I'm Larry Godwin for nationalhsfb.com. You guys have been watching another interview in our national coaching series. Can't wait for the next one. So, guys, have a good night and God bless.